Straight ahead on The Drift, we see what it takes to give this classic runabout a new life. Plus, we've got tips on how to drop and retrieve your anchor that'll keep you safe and secure. We'll drift into Newport, Rhode Island and see how the ultimate Parrot Head cruise is. And why are we seeing more sharks in our waters? Renowned shark expert Greg Skomal has the answer to the question. All this and a whole lot more is right around the bend on The Drift. Welcome to The Drift. I'm your host, Sierra Goodwill. New England is all about its rich boat building tradition. Today, John Methia spends some time at South Shore and finds out what it takes to give a vintage wooden runabout a new life.
Bob, you never know what's going to roll into South Shore Boat Works, right?
You never know, it's for sure. It's a
white runabout.
It is.
About
it's
1960-ish?
It was built in 1960, and this was built by the White Manufacturing, White Canoe Company.
These boats have become heirlooms. It's some of the wooden boats, some of the classic boats, handed down from generation to generation. And oftentimes they're found like this in a barn or in an old boathouse. What do you do with it?
Well, in this case, we have to evaluate it. We're still doing that. With any boat of age, they start having problems. The ribs, these boats have ribs inside the planking. This is a lab straight planking here, but there's ribs inside of it, and they almost always have at least one or two broken ribs.
Okay.
And so we're going to evaluate that. We're also going to evaluate it see if there's any problems with rot.
Now, years back, I had a friend who had an old Chris Craft, and I thought about getting a mahogany boat. I love that look. Like, I love that classic design. I've always loved classic boats. His quote to me was, wooden boats, and I remember this like it was yesterday, they're a lot of work. They're a lot of work.
They are. Well, I look at it as being a labor of love.
Right.
It takes maintenance, and as long as you keep up with it,
Right.
You stay ahead of any problems, it'll last forever.
Is the intent to get this boat rolling down the river or fully restored?
I'd say it's in between that. It's more of
a little patina.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't want to take away from the patina or the character of the boat. And there are some people that do restorations, and they're asked to take it right down to maybe just using one plank that's
right.
original.
Well, you're building a new boat when that happens. You're not really restoring the old boat.
And you're taking away some of that character.
Yeah. This is a piece of furniture. This is a piece of art, if you ask me. And there's one thing that jumped out. I want to show it to you.
Sure.
Really, this jumped out at me. I hope you can keep this piece, because Petit Bateau is the name of the boat, but that patina, the artistry of this hand-painted boat name is amazing. Would you save that, or would you refinish it and have it redone?
Well, the goal would be to save it. It is together. There's nothing broken here.
So I'm not French, but this is a small boat?
Small boat, yeah.
Beautiful. Love it.
And but you're right. There's always something that defines these small boats. It's always something that really stands out. And in this case, there's still quite a few runabouts around.
Right.
But there is no other Petit Bateau.
So what's the process? You pull it apart, you pull this interior out, each board, each piece gets refinished?
Either refinished, and if things can't be refinished, then we have to duplicate the part. It still has the tag in there, which it's good to see, because lots of times,
I'm not sure what that other tag is. I don't know if that's some kind of a St. Christopher medal, or maybe a boat blessing medal or something, or a boat shoe award or something there on the dash. It doesn't look quite original.
No, it doesn't. And if I really feel as though having a St. Christopher medal is not a bad thing in a boat.
Right. Well, and you have to check with the owner on that, right? Because that's something you could say, well, we took this medal thing, we threw that out. No, that was my great-grandfather's St. Christopher medal, and he put it in the boat, 90 years ago. Well, this is good stuff, Bob. We look forward to following the progress on this. But it's a beautiful boat, and it's going to be even more beautiful when you're done with it, I'm sure.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Nice stuff.
We'll be following that restoration process as that classic white comes back to life. As always, you'll find more boat build at driftsociably.com and on all our social platforms at Drift Sociably. Straight ahead on the Drift, it's the Boat US pros at the helm with tips that'll make anchoring safe and simple. And we drift into Newport, Rhode Island and go aboard the son of a sailor's sailboat.
At the Helm is brought to you by Boat US. Better boating starts here.
Dropping the anchor. There's always questions, right? How much line do I let out? Am I hooked? And most of all, am I safe and secure? This time on At the Helm with Boat US, we'll show you how to make anchoring safe and simple.
At some point you're going to want to anchor your boat, so let's take a look at what you'll need. You'll have an anchor on board that's big enough for the boat, of the right type, so it'll hold in the bottom that you operate in, and you'll need enough anchor rode, the chain and the line combined, to give you a 5-to-1 scope. The scope is the distance from the bow of the boat to the bottom. Say it's 20 feet. If you want a 5-to-1 scope, you'll need 100 feet of anchor rode. And what we're going to be covering is anchoring in fairly benign conditions. So let's take a look at how it's done. Okay, we're approaching our anchorage now. The depth of water is 20 feet. So with a 5-to-1 scope, I'm going to let out 100 feet of anchor rode. When I get to the anchorage, I'm going to stop the boat. I'm going to back down until I have a little bit of sternway on. Then my assistant in the bow is going to let the anchor out till we have 100 feet of line out. And then we're going to tie it off to the cleat. I'm going to let it come tight. And then I'm going to back down for 45 to 60 seconds to set the hook really well. While I'm backing down, once the line is tight, I'm going to look off my beam. I'm going to pick out a spot or a range on either beam to make sure that I'm not moving. And I can also see based on buoys that are close to the boat or whatever's nearby, but you want to make sure that anchor is holding. Okay, we're going to drop the anchor now. We got the bow into the current. We're going to let go of the stopper, and we've got some sternway on, and we're going to let out about 100 feet of anchor rode here. We've got 20 feet or so from the bow of the boat to the bottom. So we're letting out the line now. So we've got about 100 feet out now. I'm going to take some of that sternway off, so when Charles ties off the anchor line to the cleat, he'll be able to do so easily and safely. Okay, now we're tying off to the cleat. We've taken most of the sternway off to make it easier. Okay, there we're tied off now. Now with the bow still heading in the right direction, right into the current. I'm going to wait until I have the slack out of the line, and then I'm going to start backing a little bit harder on both engines. For this boat, I'm going to go back at about 1500 RPM. And what I'm doing right now is I'm looking off the beam to see if I'm moving, either in relation to other objects or if I can find a range on the shore on either side. Anchor appears to be holding from the bow. In other words, the line isn't jerking around, and I've got no motion on the beam here, so we're good. The anchor's been set. I'm going to go a total of about 45 to 60 seconds to make sure it's well set, and then we'll set our anchor watch. Okay, now I'm going to take it out of gear, and we're ready for a bite of lunch. Okay, we just had a great lunch break, and now we're getting ready to haul the anchor back in. So we're going to drive ahead using the engines. We're not going to use the windlass or somebody else sitting in the bow of the boat to haul the boat towards the anchor. We'll let the engines do that. And then once we're up and down directly over the anchor, we're going to tie the line off to the cleat, and we're going to let the weight and the momentum of the boat break the anchor free. Then we're going to go back to either hauling the anchor in by hand or using the windlass, depending on how your boat's equipped. We're going to start driving ahead on the anchor. Going to haul it up. Charles in the bow is pointing in the direction the anchor line is tending, and I'm going to head right in that direction. As soon as he's got some slack in the line, he'll take it off the cleat, and he'll direct it back to the windlass and start heaving around on the windlass. But the engines are doing the work, not the windlass. Okay, we're directly over the anchor right now. Give ourselves a little slack. Tie off the line to the cleat. Good, it's tied off now. We're going to drive ahead on it, let the boat break the anchor free of the bottom. The anchor's tending a little bit to port. Okay, we can just feel it break free. So as soon as we get a little bit of slack there, we're going to untie it from the cleat and pass it back to the windlass. Heave the anchor the rest of the way in. Now we've got the chain coming through the hawse pipe. We can hear that. Last 15 feet is chain on this boat. Okay, it's all the way aboard. I'm going to pass the stopper, and we're ready for sea.
Thanks, Eric. With these tips, I know I'm going to feel a whole lot safer at anchor. I like to say better boating starts at BoatUS.com. Visit them for more helpful boating tips. From the color of Key West to the quiet of Nantucket, we love drifting into these amazing destinations and, of course, taking you with us. And we drift into Newport, Rhode Island and go aboard the son of a sailor's sailboat.
Renowned yacht designer Ted Fontaine has designed a unique sailing yacht for a unique sailing guy.
This boat is built in particular for Jimmy Buffett. Hull number 1 went to Mr. Buffett. And we actually had 2 fighting chairs out here at one time, bolted down, but they took up a little bit too much space. But it's Mr. Buffett's basically you couldn't ask for a better demographic. He's a water sports enthusiast. He's a waterman, surfing, sailing, and lives, the sort of the Caribbean outdoor lifestyle. And that's what this whole boat is all about. He's got the means to do what he wanted with this boat, and money was never really an object. He wanted to get it right, and I think we finally got around to getting it right. It took some time, but it's a unique boat, and sometimes it takes a little bit of extra effort to make it all work. This is probably the most unique. A tailgate platform, hydraulic control. It's when the transom's up, it's like a very secure and safe feeling. You get to your anchorage, you push a button, it drops down. You got easy access to the water.
And how's this? The galley is up in this unique sailboat design.
We've got a gas grill, 2-burner cooktop.
Unique.
Unique. It's
right.
got little fins to the left. So the boat, at 50 feet overall, 14'9" on beam, it's a boat that one person can easily sail by themselves.
As with any custom yacht build, there were changes as the build progressed.
Well, we had originally conceived the boat at 58 feet. Basically, that's what I had been marketing and trying to sell. And Mr. Buffett was introduced to the 58-footer, but wanted something more compact, like 42 feet. So we shrunk it down to 40. It was 42 feet the first time, then 44. And then we started building the boat, and we stretched it to 46. Then we added the bowsprit, and it gets out to 50 feet. So he was instrumental in basically trying to he bought into the concept. He said, it's exactly what I want. And there were a lot of little details with electronics and the interior joinery, the interior layout. So it was typical for what I would say a custom, semi-custom sailboat. What he wanted was just a small bunk for himself. He's like, I like it. He said, I like it small. I like it compact. And he said, in the middle of the night when I get up with some kind of ideas or whatever, I just need a place to sit down and record. So all he wanted was a bunk and a desk. And then it got to the bunk and a desk and a shower and a toilet. And then it got to, he was specific about what he wanted for electronics. But that's about it. It was really all, it was conceived. It was just customized to his liking.
For just $3.5 million, you can go fins up and drift away like Jimmy Buffett on the Safari 50.
There's more drift into adventures and destinations at driftsociably.com, and as always, on our social platforms at Drift Sociably. Straight ahead on the Drift, they are a marine animal hospital, science and education center with a mission that is so important. And are we seeing more sharks? Renowned shark expert Greg Skolmel has the answers right here on the Drift.
The Drift is brought to you by Boat US. Better boating starts here.
We all know the people and organizations who selflessly give back. We're honored to tell the stories of those who care. Today we feature the good folks from the National Marine Life Center. They are a marine hospital, science and education center, and their mission is amazing. So This is a really cool mission for this center. You're rehabilitating and releasing marine life mammals and sea turtles. What exactly is your mission at the NMLC?
Thank you. Yeah, we aim to educate and research these animals while we're rehabbing them. So, sorry, I should say educate the public. The animals are all stranded or injured that come to us. So while we have them, they make great education tools. So the public understands that first, these animals are even in our area. And secondly, the importance of conserving them. Sometimes we see pretty awful injuries. Other times it may be serious malnourishment in the case of an abandoned harbor seal pup. Or cold stunning is something that we see in the sea turtles. So in the fall, every fall in Massachusetts, sea turtles, endangered and threatened sea turtles that haven't left Cape Cod before the temperature starts to drop, end up cold stunning on the beach. So those are turtles that are hypothermic and they need to be warmed slowly.
And this is The Drift, so a lot of our audience are boaters. Do you have any tips for boaters who might come across a stranded or injured marine animal?
We work with a lot of boaters and we appreciate any sightings. Maybe you're out at sea and you see a sea turtle. Google sea turtles in Massachusetts and it will take you to the Mass Audubon at Wellfleet Bay. And they are in charge of the sea turtle strandings in that area. Being mindful, keeping eyes open while you're at sea is really important.
What can the public do to help you guys fundraise to get where you need to be?
We are nonprofit, thank you. We have to raise every dollar that it takes to keep the facility open. All of the supplies that it takes to treat these animals. So you think about needles and syringes and fluids, the food, just the forage budget for these animals alone. So we survive off of donations. We still have space that can be built out so we can add more sea turtle tanks. So the turtles are all endangered and threatened in our area. That's very important. And seals. We have a big problem with entanglements with seals. We envision a hospital that's built out with tanks, rehabilitation tanks, that maybe the public can actually view someday. An education center with a rehabilitation hospital, also increasing our ability to do research.
Wonderful people doing very important work. And as always, you can find information on the National Marine Life Center and more Drift Care segments at driftsociably.com and at driftsociably on social media.
Hey Drifters, The Drift comes to you from our sociable DGI Communication Studios. Get the drift?
And now it's time for From the Cast, a bit of information from one of the industry's fastest growing boating podcasts, the Drift Podcast. Today, John sits down with renowned shark expert Greg Skomal to talk about why we seem to be sighting more sharks, the great white myth, and what we all can do to stay safe.
So what is the reason for sort of on the east coast of the United States has become a hot spot for shark activity? What's the reason for that? Is it the increase in the seal population? As we know, the hunt for seal has been protected. You can't hunt seal, and that's increased population. And right, seal makes some great eats for white shark, right?
We have to understand that the seal population, now that we've restored it or it's growing, it numbers about 500,000 in the western North Atlantic. That's a lot of seals, and they move around throughout the entire region. So if you were to kill 5,000 or 10,000 seals off Cape Cod, it's very likely that those spaces left open by the removal of those seals will be filled quite rapidly by other seals moving into the area.
So what can we do to lessen the concerns and sort of improve public safety along these lines? And you've already talked we've talked about the apps and we've talked about notifications, but what should the average person do? what can we do? Or should we even be concerned? You know, when you look at the low numbers of shark incidents in New England or you know, in the United States for that matter, is it even that concerning?
Well, you know, if you look at the statistics, it shouldn't even be on our radar screen, honestly. But it is. You know, there may be one person killed every 100 years by a shark, but it's still a concern. And we're not going to remove that feeling of fear that people have. And so ultimately, you know, people want to do something. And there's no silver bullet. And that's the real problem here, John. There's no easy solution to this. Right. We do it through public education. I think in the near term, at least, we have to modify our own behavior. You know, through research, we're trying to identify those areas where people might be more at risk than other areas. You know, I advise people don't go out over your waist, because if you get into 6 or 8 feet of water, there could be a white shark hunting a seal very close to shore there. Right. You know, so it will have to come with behavioral modification.
Well, and you know, what doesn't help is every piece of, you know, the movies and the media and the Shark Weeks and everything else, while it's great television, it sort of sends that the other message. You know, it doesn't send the, well, look how very few incidents there are. It says, everybody out of the water, you know, that kind of thing. So, but very good point there. I'm with you on that. All right. So I guess what we learned from this is, A, white sharks are pretty darn cool. And B, don't go swimming near seals if you're on Cape Cod in the summer, right? Trying to stay away from the seals. Certainly don't go out on a wakeboard or something around seals that could get you into some trouble. And that Greg Skomel's got a love for sharks, man.
You know, any way I can reach out to the public and teach them a little bit more about sharks, you know, you've given me a great opportunity, John. Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Why not track the great whites on your own using the amazing Sharktivity app? You can find it at driftsociably.com, and remember to follow the Drift Podcast, where all fine podcasts can be found. Hey Drifters, we'll catch you next time, and as always, thanks for joining us at the social place for boating, The Drift. For more content like this, follow, share, and subscribe to the Drift Sociably, or visit us at driftsociably.com. For all of us here at The Drift, I'm Sierra Goodwill. Drift Sociably. Get the drift?
The Drift has been brought to you by Boat US. Better boating starts here. Join today.